Hey everybody, Troy here. Today what I wanted to do was compare the differences between Bethel, Elevation, and Hillsong in the guitar tones that they use. That's like the big three. At least most of the songs that I play are those three bands or sound a lot like them. So like Jesus Culture is going to sound in some senses a lot like Bethel. Kind of maybe they combine the Bethel Elevation tone to a certain extent. But you know, I find myself Bethel, Elevation, Hillsong. If you're trying to copy these guys, this video is going to be pretty helpful for you. If you're the type of guy that likes to take one tone and play it like across all the songs in the set, this video is not really going to be for you. Okay, so the idea here is that we're trying to capture the essence of these guitar tones. No one's going to nail them exactly except the guys who play them. So Mike Pope's going to sound like Mike Pope, Bobby Strand's going to sound like Bobby Strand, Nigel Hendroff's going to sound like Nigel Hendroff, Lance Gatch, Joey Signa, yada, 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 yada. You get the idea. No one's going to sound like them because, you know, they're unique in their own right. Just like no one can sound like you. No one can sound like me. But if we're trying to capture the essence, here's how I think about that stuff. Okay, so for the Bethel tone, how I think about this is like big, thick tone, mid-rangey with a perceived brightness. Credit to Tommy Craig Ziggers for that phrase, which really encompasses the Bethel tone. We'll dive deeper into what that means further on in the video. The Elevation tone is more aggressive, more focused, less delay, less reverb. Still lots of delay, of course, it's worship music, and a good amount of reverb because, of course, it's worship music. But it's not as blanketed over every song like when compared to the Bethel stuff, for example. There's certainly parts in songs that are reverbed out, but on the whole, it's going to be more focused, more aggressive, less round, less thick, and kind of more in your face. The Hillsong tone is, the word that I use is plinky. I'm not even sure if that's a word, to be honest with you, but plinky. Articulate, works awesome with neck pickup, really bright delay repeats. They do have like, you know, the crazy ambient swell tone like every worship team does, but on the whole, it's less reverb typically than say a Bethel song, and it's not as aggressive as the Elevation tone. So what I'll do in this video is take a popular song by each of the three teams we mentioned. I'm going to play through just a handful of parts in it and then talk through how I'm approaching that tone and how I'm sculpting that tone so you can kind of get the general idea of what builds the foundation of each of the tones from the teams that we mentioned. And then we'll do something fun. I'll take the Bethel preset for Glory to Glory, and then I will play Oh Praise the Name by Hillsong, two tones on like completely different sides of the spectrum. And that's why I kind of like these three bands, because Bethel's like way over here, and then Hillsong's way over here, and then Elevation's kind of right in the middle, in my opinion. So that's going to be a fun comparison, so you can kind of hear very closely, like from a proximity standpoint, how different they are. And really, I think, hopefully what this will do is if you're not trying to mimic the bands, it'll help you realize that maybe that's important to do, because the tone is kind of sculpted for the song, and to make the song all it can be in our churches, sometimes it pays to really pay attention and to really put a lot of intentionality into achieving a tone as close as possible. So we're going to explore that today. We'll dive right in right now. All right, so let's jump in. Glory to Glory by Bethel. So the way that I think about the Bethel tone, again, is like this nice, big, full tone, a good amount of mid-range, and a perceived brightness. So I got that perceived brightness phrase from my friend Tommy, and we were talking about the Bethel tone one day, and he said, you know, the Bethel tone's like not bright in its own right. It's not foundationally bright. It has a perceived brightness, and the way we get that perceived brightness is from the reverb tails being nice and breathy, nice and bright. So the Bethel tone is, again, perceived to be bright, and it's also pretty gainy, in my opinion, from the get-go. So here's just no effects at all, unaffected signal. Listen to how much gain we have going on here. So it's breaking up pretty good. So, but it's kind of dark, right? I mean, it's not not defined, and it's not dark, but it's not bright like Hillsong bright. So you'll see what Hillsong bright sounds like, but it's got a nice roundness to it, nice and thick. So here we go. Listen to what happens when we turn the reverb on. Listen to the reverb tails. So the reverb really brightens things up. See how that gives it that like perceived brightness? It's a really cool thing to do, and because it keeps your guitar tone nice and full, nice and big, and then the reverb adds that nice little sheen, that nice little breath to it. So this is a Glory to Glory preset. This is the single note stuff would sound like this. Maybe some arpeggiated picking. Something like that. And then we'll turn on some drive. We'll play the chorus to Glory real quick. I've kind of cramped myself in this area, and accessing the whammy is going to be super tough. So if I jack this chorus up, that's why. Here we go. And then some big strumming, so here's the bridge to Glory. Alright, so there's my thoughts on the Bethel tone. Nice and big, it's got a big mid-range thing going, nice and thick, and then it's got a perceived brightness from very bright reverb tails to give it that kind of breathy sound. Okay, so let's move on to elevation. More of an aggressive tone, not quite as airy, not quite as breathy.